It's 1973. I'm in my early 20s, my senior year in CU in Boulder, Colorado, and in the middle of a breakup. The man I thought was the love of my life had taken off for Jamaica without me. He left suddenly and wasn't clear about whether he was coming back. But he had left his television with me. So I figured chances were, since his television was his actual true love, I'd probably see him again. But meanwhile, in an instant, I was on my own, hunting for an apartment, carting around our cat, sorting out my emotions in the middle of winter, Christmas time. I also had another stalker. That's right, another. I had had them before. This guy, this time, was always waiting for me after all my classes. He knew too much about me, like my driver's license number, my parents' address, my sister's middle name, and what dress I wore last Saturday when I didn't see him. I was trying to discourage him without making him angry. A familiar dance I danced a time or two before, the one where you're friendly but not too friendly, savvy but not quite getting it. It's a mistake to be too cold. It's a mistake to be too warm. I've felt the consequence of those things before. It's imperative to stay on your toes. He hadn't really done anything outright, so I couldn't report him, which meant I was simply on my own. Finals were over, and I had just discovered that the history professor who had shown such an interest in my research on women in the Revolutionary War wasn't really interested in my brilliant ideas, insights, and sharp intellect, but rather, there was a really awkward moment in his office when he leaned over and put his, you get the picture. Without me going into the gory details, I danced the dance, and I managed to get out of his office pretty unscathed. My grade was in limbo, but I was okay. And here it is, Christmas Eve, and I'm in an understandably foul mood, and in my car, driving to my parents' home, and it's late-ish, the sun's down, and it's snowing hard. I don't need men, I say to myself, smoothly navigating onto an isolated stretch of highway while adding to my list of complaints about men, the enormous amount of booze my dad was apt to consume over the next few days. They're unreliable and they're sneaky, and I don't need them. What use are they, anyway? I was an independent, capable woman with a trusted car, a meaningful job at a hospital working with asthmatic kids, a straight-A student, wearing a snazzy mouton coat and sturdy boots, and I didn't need no stinking man. Got along without you before I met you, gonna get along without you now. And I'm driving along this dark freeway full of competence, making a tally of other teachers who had betrayed me in the past, like my fourth grade teacher who squashed my enthusiasm about being a scientist by saying girls can't be scientists. Then my fifth grade teacher, Mr. Good, made me quit high jumping and playing baseball when I complained that the boys were tackling me when I was running around the bases, and then they were hitting me with a high jump bar as I jumped. "You're a girl," Mr. Good cooed at me, "and you're risking your ability to have kids if you continue to high jump and get tackled on the baseball field. Take your dress out of your pants and go play jacks." That's what he said. And I bought that somehow. And then there was the Denver University mucky mucks who took away my music scholarship I won and gave it to a boy because boys were more likely to complete degrees in music than girls. And I was just getting to my high school chemistry teacher who told me he was certain I'd get raped within the first 2 weeks I was in college when I, just like that, without warning, my car just slips right off the road and into the center divider ditch. Yeah, I'm stuck on a very lonely, dark stretch of highway, unable to move forward or back. I'm really on my own now. I checked the gas, almost a full tank. My dad would be proud of that. And I start wondering, as the snowfall intensifies, just how long before I freeze to death. But I believe in action. So I get out of the car and I climb up to the road, still pleased with how sturdy my boots are, and I'm standing there by myself in the frostbite cold for maybe 5 minutes when out of nowhere, completely unsummoned, come the lights of a tow truck from up ahead that is backing down off the exit ramp onto the highway, coming toward me backwards. And simultaneously, from the other direction, from the ramp behind me, a police car is coming, driving straight forward. And both of them arrive at the same time. And then two very large men with broad shoulders hop from their vehicles and swagger toward me. I'm stunned and stuck in the middle of a manwich. Where did they come from? How did this happen? And damn, that tow truck guy looks almost exactly like my old boyfriend Andy, who once told me he'd like to break me like a horse or lock me in a closet. The policeman might be a twin of my ex-boyfriend Raymond from 3 years before, who beat me up because I wouldn't sleep with him, and in his apology afterwards said he knew what I needed now, someone strict but not brutal. It's dead quiet. The snow has picked up, and I'm hoping my sturdy boots are good dancing boots. Laurie, I say to the tow truck driver as I shake his hand firmly. And you are? Joe, he says, and nods to the policeman. And the two of them get down to business. With no more than 20 words between them, and even fewer to me, which, by the way, did not include anything demeaning or threatening, the tow truck pulled my car out of the ditch, set up upright on the road, and the policeman, John Johnson, after scraping the snow off my windshields, asks where I'm headed, and then says, "Follow in my tracks. I'll get you to a safer section, and then you're on your own. You'll be fine. Stay safe. This could happen to anyone. Merry Christmas." I was an experienced, capable snow and ice driver. I wasn't afraid, only extremely impressed and grateful to these two men. With my hands securely but easy on the wheel, my eyes focused on the road, my mantra now became, "Oh God, how I love men! I don't know what I'd ever do without men." And as I drove, I began reflecting on some other men in my life. My grandfather, Bopo, who sat with me once on top of a hill of rocks and pointed out far, far over the tiny town of Pueblo and up into the sky and told me to always look as far as I can, to drink 8 glasses of water a day and keep a sense of humor. My brother-in-law, Buddy, taught me how to drive and gave me what was then, as is now, the banned book Stranger in a Strange Land, and I read it 3 times. My friend James and his father taught me to ski and play tennis and introduced me to the theater. And my dad not only carried me for hours while I was teething in the crook of his arm until he couldn't move it, but he also talked to me, told me brilliant stories every night at dinner, which taught me how to pay attention, listen, and learn. But he also cautioned me to be careful and confident simultaneously, and to never underestimate the importance of having a firm handshake. I earnestly followed in Officer Johnson's tire tracks and beeped my horn twice in appreciation when he stuck his large, strong arm, capable of both good and bad, out the window, giving me the high sign as he turned off the road and disappeared. All that was love, actually.